French, please? No hands. Unilingual English? So some people don't talk at all. I'm just curious because our presentation will be mostly in English. I'm fully bilingual, so I'll start with French. Merci beaucoup d'être venu ici ce soir. Comme vous le savez, depuis à peu près un an, on a une directrice générale qui est très active pour créer des événements de formation, des événements de réseautage et la mission première de notre chambre de commerce dans le Pontiac. Donc on a fait un bon travail de se regrouper un peu plus souvent, puis vous allez voir qu'il y aura de plus en plus d'activités dans ce sens-là. Donc merci beaucoup d'être venu ce soir. So now in English, welcome to everybody. Our objective with the Chamber of Commerce will be to increasingly offer more and more training opportunities, networking opportunities across the Pontiac. So we'll go west, center, east, and we'll do our best to have a variety of presentations for you. And the other mandate that we've given ourselves is to offer you guys tools in the business world. We all know we work crazy hours. We have a lot of laws by which to work and obey. It's getting increasingly difficult to navigate through these things, but with the right tools on the web or with the right loan and the right financial institutions, we get along and we survive as business people. So today, the main presentation here by John Stewart is about getting grants for your businesses. And I do not want to introduce you because I don't have the full bio, but please do so. Please a round of applause for John Stewart. I apologize, we're a little bit behind because there's more food than we anticipated. So everybody went in the back and got some food. So enjoy, have a good presentation. And if you have any questions, John being English speaking, we will have a bilingual Q&A session at the end. Okay, merci.
My French is like this, like to say Charleville French. I grew up in the area, so ça fait quelques années que je parle français chaque jour, mais je peux comprendre presque tout ce que tu dis. Just gives me a little bit of time to reply, maybe a little bit more Frenglish or more Pontiacese, as I like to say. So let's get into today's presentation. So thanks for coming, everyone. We're going to be talking about different types of funding options that are available for small business, medium-sized businesses in our area. It's a really big question that a lot of us have is how can we get free money? And everyone loves free money. Today's agenda is going to talk about the needs and the goals of what fundraising does or funding does, the different types of funding that are available to you, some industry and activity specific funding opportunities that are out there, where to find information because there are a lot of resources available to you online to figure out what grants you're eligible for. And we'll talk about the 3 grants that should be on your radar right now that you should be looking at to help your business immediately. And then lastly, where you can get some help. So before I go any further, my most favorite subject, myself. Let's talk a little bit about me. So my name is John Stewart. As Todd mentioned, I'm not the John Stewart. I'm a little bit taller and not quite the Daily Show host, although I do own johnstewart.com, and that joke is never old for me. So I grew up in the Pontiac. I was born and raised up here. I, as many people in my generation, went to the city for schooling and found a career and figured I was never going to come back, but here I am again. I've actually decided to come back on my own. I love this area and really wanted to commit myself back to the Pontiac. So I moved back here a couple years ago. And in the interim, I managed marketing and sales for big media companies that you may be familiar with, the Ottawa Citizen, the Ottawa Sun, the Pembroke Observer, the Montreal Gazette. I've also worked in radio at companies like Shea 106 and CKBY or Y105 or Y101 or wherever frequency they are these days. My focus has been helping businesses understand the digital transformation of where digital marketing is taking their business and how they can elevate their game by incorporating new technology into their marketing and into their business overall. And that's been very key for my development. And really what I found is I really wanted to help that up here. I really wanted to give back to the community up here because we are a little underdeveloped on the digital side and there are opportunities for businesses to really up their game, find new customers, develop their business strategies to include the technology that's available to them. And grants are a great way for you to get started. I've been a techie guy for a very, very, very long time. I've been involved with the internet for a long time. In fact, in 1995, when Charleville first connected to the internet and the equity came up to the high school, who did they interview? Me. So I just want to showcase how long I've been in there. I've got more hair in some areas and less hair in other areas from where I was back then. But I'm still the same kind of guy and still love technology and love how that can actually better our lives overall. So let's get into the guts of today's presentation. Why should SMBs, small business or medium-sized businesses, or SMEs, small business enterprises, need funding? A couple key things. Could be investing in your business. You need cash to make your business work and to grow. And what kind of investments could they be? They could be to undertake larger projects that you don't have the funding for. You want to grow, but you need some cash in order to do so. You want to expand your production. You want to increase your capacity. You want to find a new market to expand into. And that market could be online. It could be across the river. It could be across the country or in the United States or around the world. You may need some help with marketing. You've got a great product, a great service, but no one knows about it. But you need some cash to be able to get the message out. That's a key thing for a lot of businesses these days. They also could be just improving your cash flow. We also know that you have to spend money to make money, and you need that money first in order to make everything work. So you may need a little bit of money right off the top to help grease the wheels of your organization. What do those grants achieve? Well, they largely align with government priorities, and government priorities can change often, but there's some consistency that you will find in a lot of grants that are available. One is to help new entrepreneurs, especially in rural and underdeveloped areas. And Pontiac is one of these areas that the government has tried to invest more and more money in to try to juice up the economy and encourage more business owners like yourselves to settle down and hire more people and grow our local communities. It could also be about improving competitiveness. I've worked with furniture stores who used to think, there's never going to be a competitor to a furniture store. No one's ever going to buy a product or a chair online. How many of you have been to Wayfair or been to IKEA and actually bought things online? All of a sudden, you're not competing with the store across the road or the store across the county. You're dealing with the big conglomerate of the United States that can deliver it cheaper and sometimes better, and you've got to just become more competitive in that area. Also, lots of funding for becoming more green. We're becoming more environmentally conscious. We're a very nature-rich area up in the Pontiac, and the government is investing in businesses to look at their infrastructure and trying to find ways to reducing their carbon footprint or become more ecologically friendly. It could also be about developing new technology. We want to be leaders in Canada for technology, and if you're a business either in the technology industry or you want to use technology to improve your business, there's funding available for that as well. And bottom right-hand corner, increasing employment. We want to see more people working. So there are lots of grants that can help you hire, specifically on the younger side of people who are entering the workforce, or many underrepresented groups in the workforce. Women, visible minorities, refugees, LGBTQ+, all of these have additional grants available to you when you hire, so they can actually help bring them into the workforce for the first time potentially. General requirements. So for most grants, there's a lot of different criteria, but there are a couple of key consistencies that you will find. Each funding program is different. So when you're looking at one funding program, it may not have the exact same requirements of another. Many do require you to be incorporated. So the majority of grants are for incorporated businesses, although that is changing. COVID had its benefits and its problems. One of the benefits is the government has decided to invest more in small businesses, because small businesses were really hurt by the pandemic. Big corporations, not as hurt. So the government is trying to shift its focus to more small and medium-sized businesses in terms of supporting them through their transformations. Some focus on startups, so some grants are available just for those who are starting. They may be pre-revenue, pre-commercialization, but most also require several years of experience in the industry. You may actually have to be in operation for a period of time for you to qualify for some grants. Some require minimum revenue numbers. You have to achieve an X amount of dollars in a year for you to qualify for certain grants, and that can be very small to very large, depending on what kind of money that you're looking for. Some also require a minimum number of employees. If you're a sole entrepreneur, you're the only person in the business, that limits the amount of grants that you are applicable for. You generally may need an extra employee as part of your organization to qualify for some grants. Not all grants, there are definitely some that are available for you as well. So, what kind of funding is available out there? Well, there are three main types of funding. The first one that we're going to talk a lot about today is grants and subsidies. Those terms are sometimes used interchangeably. The second is tax credits, and the third is loans. So these are three types of funding that are available to small businesses, and they come in different forms. When it comes to grants and subsidies, they're often non-repayable, which means it is free money for you. They are going to give you the money, and they're not expecting a dime back. Therefore, they're the most desirable. Everyone wants free money. You don't want to get the money back that you're given. So this is where a lot of the focus is on grants and subsidies. They often only cover a percentage of the cost of the program that you're implementing, but some can stack. Stacking grants is a great way of looking at a couple different grants and combining them together to get to as close to 100% coverage as possible. Now, generally, you can't stack grants that come from the federal government with another federal government grant, but provincial and government or federal government grants can sometimes stack, and sometimes municipal governments can stack as well. So lots of options of making more money available for you through the grant program. You generally have to apply before you spend. You cannot retroactively apply for a grant. If you spent money already, you can't go and say, well, I'll cover the costs I already incurred. You actually have to go through a process of getting approved before you get your grant money. Another thing to keep in mind is grants are not guaranteed. A lot of them are competitions that you have to compete with other businesses. There may be only a limited amount of businesses that they want to work with, a limited amount of dollars available. So that may limit the amount of time those grants are available. Conversely, I have heard many stories of grant programs that go untouched because no one knows that they're available. And if you actually applied more, there'll be more money available in the economy. So it depends on the type of grant you're looking for. There are ones that are definitely out there that people don't know as much about, but are looking for people like yourselves to apply for. Sometimes very short window to apply. I've heard of grants that require you to apply now because it's going to be gone in 3 weeks. So it comes along in the summer jobs program, which if you're familiar with, is one of these very, very tight windows. No one thinks summer jobs in December, but it opens up in early December and closes in early January. If you do not get your grant application in by early January, you are not going to get a grant for Canada Summer Jobs. So you've got to think in terms of when grants are available and when you have to apply. And again, federal, provincial, municipal, and some private grants as well are available. So sometimes private companies make money available to small businesses to help them along as well. Tax credits, so no one likes paying taxes, but as small business owners, you have an ability of offsetting some of the income tax that you would pay the federal government or the provincial government. Reduces your overall tax burden. Like grants, you have to spend the money first before you get the credit on the taxes. And you have to apply at the end of the year with your tax return. But the benefit of tax credits is their entitlements. You cannot be denied a tax credit if you are eligible for it. If you did everything properly and you file it with your accountant, I highly recommend talking to an accountant with these sorts of things. You will get your money back, no problem at all, and there is no capping. There is no money is running out at the end of the day. So tax credits are another way for businesses to fund themselves. Problem though, if you're a startup. If you don't have any revenue, you can't offset any taxes. So tax credits don't necessarily work for a lot of startups, but if you're in the infancy stage, there are other forms of lending that could be available to you. And that's where a lot of loans come in. So loans are the least desirable because you don't want to pay interest on a loan. You don't want to give the money back at the end of the day. But there are loan programs out there that can get you better terms than what a bank can. How many of you have a mortgage that's increased in the past year? Well, most of us have seen the interest rates and where they're going. You go to a bank for a business loan, they're probably going to be charging you 3 times what they were going to charge you 2 years ago. Interest rates are skyrocketing. Well, sometimes these loans can actually be delayed payments where you don't actually have to pay them back right away. Sometimes there's a delay of 12 months before you actually have to give a dime back. Some of them have lower or absolutely no interest rates. It is as close to free money as you can get. Sometimes it takes a couple of years to pay it back. So you can spend that money appropriately, build your business up, hopefully generate more revenue as because of that, and then pay back the government the loan that they gave you. Some as well pay back only a portion. So it's quasi like a grant. Some of these are very specific. I've seen a few, if you're an indigenous entrepreneur, sometimes you only pay back 50 or 60% of the overall loan. So it's a mixture of both loan and grant at the same time. Government organizations also can guarantee loans that private banks may not necessarily want to give you because you may not qualify. You may be a startup, you may not have the revenue in hand, you don't have the income statement to be able to qualify for the loan, but the government's there to help you out and get along. So, grants for specific industries or activities. Now, there are some industries that the government and other granting organizations treat better than others because there are certain priorities that they look at in terms of we want to support this industry that's challenged or we want to grow this industry because we know it's good for the economy. So there are 5 that are really identified in terms of what grants are available specifically for these types of businesses. So if you're in the agriculture or agriculture adjacent, so you're kind of agriculture, there are some grants available for you as well. And we all know there's a lot of farmers up here in Pontiac and there is some applicability for agriculture grants as well. Manufacturing is another one. Technology, we want to be tech leaders in Canada, so there are tech grants available for you. Also with technology, you may not be a technical company, but you have technical needs. And what company does not have technical needs these days? Having a website, having a CRM, developing a appointment booking system. There are grants to help you with that technology, even if you aren't a technology company. Tourism is another one that has a lot of other benefits to the economy. We bring more people into the area, and we know that up here in the Pontiac. It's a key part of our business growth. And if you're a nonprofit, there's additional grants available for you as well. So let's assume you're not any of those. What can you do with the grants, or what activities can help you? So grants can help you to hire. A lot of hiring grants out there. Like I mentioned earlier, underrepresented people, people on employment insurance. There are grants specifically to help you cover wages for people who come on board with your company. Training grants are another one, improving the skill sets of your current employees. New technology that can actually make your life a lot easier. There's lots of grants available for that. R&D, so if you're trying to develop a new product, you've got this brilliant idea that's keeping you up at night, and you need some money to make it actually happen, there's money available for you to prototype, there's money for you to do all the research and development to actually get your product into the market as well. And expansion into new markets. So like I said earlier, it can be expansion internationally, which is a lot of funding. The government of Canada wants you to compete with American companies or worldwide companies. The government of Quebec wants you to compete with Ontario sometimes as well. So they'll give you grants if you're expanding into Ontario. Hiring grants, touched on this a little bit earlier. Many are for students, and students is a little bit wide. If you're still in school at the age of 30, maybe you've had some challenges in your schooling, I'll just say, but also for recent graduates as well. So people who've just graduated from a program and are looking for work. It helps those who are underemployed. So they may not necessarily be in the program that they went to school with, and they're having a difficulty finding work in that area. Grants can help you hire those types of people, or those who are on employment insurance.
John, quick question for you. I see a lot of people writing stuff down. Are we going to have access to your slides?
You will absolutely have access to the slides. Sorry, I'm also rushing through this as well because I've got about an hour worth of content in a half-hour presentation. But if you signed up earlier, we will email you a copy of this. I'm hoping that the camera is recording, so you'll also hear me babbling on for a half hour. Tomorrow you'll get a copy of both the presentation and the video as well. So don't worry about taking too many notes. Next point here. You can be given a grant to hire temporary or permanent employees. Let's say your business is seasonal. You're only open in the summer. You may have a grant that is only good for 3 months. You may have a grant that lets you hire for 12 months, but you have to keep that employee after the grant is up as well, and there's some conditions for that. And some of the grants, I always look at hiring grants as a way of solving a business problem, not just needing to hire someone, but let's say you don't have a social media plan. You're looking to get some help from the social media activity perspective. Using a grant to hire a student who has been trained in digital marketing to help you implement your plan is a great way of using hiring or another type of grant to help you with your business. Training grants, similar to hiring, but hiring grants are temporary, training is permanent. You teach someone to fish, they will fish. That's ultimately why training grants are in there. Not only does it help your business, but it also helps your employees. I don't know if you've ever been an employee of a big corporation. I have been for 20 years. Thankfully, I'm no longer an employee of a corporation, but I really enjoyed companies that invested in me as an employee. I felt better about my work environment when they trained me and they spent money to help me develop my skill sets. I was more attached to the company. I would work with that company longer and harder. So training grants can not only help your business, but also helps you retain your employees for a longer term as well. What you do with training grants is identify your gaps. Figure out where your gap in your knowledge is in your business or your skill set in your business, and figure out what kind of grant you would need to train. And then you can find professionals who can either do it in person or virtual learning as well. Some people like it in person, some people are okay with just doing it online. There are many options when it comes to training grants for you. And sometimes it's not just a grant, sometimes it's tax credits. There's lots of training tax credits available for you. So it's kind of like a grant, spend the money and you get it back at the end of the year. Technology grants, so they can lead to more efficiencies in your business. I know some of us are a little bit of Luddites when it comes to technology, and we like to hit things with a stick, and that's the only way to make our computers work some days. I can be like that as well, but generally efficiencies are what technology is all about. When I launched my own business, I made sure all of my systems talk to each other, so I never had to go to a spreadsheet Take someone's email address from one system and put it into another system and put it into another system. Everything is all interconnected, and there are grants that can help businesses do that as well. It can also help you build your first website. If you don't have a website right now and you're struggling with getting online, there are grants available to get you online for the first time. Or if you have a website and you want to develop some e-commerce, there are grants specifically for that. Now, e-commerce is difficult in the service industry. If you provide a service, you may not necessarily be able to sell that service online, but grants will allow you to maybe put a booking system on your website, so appointments can be scheduled through your website, which makes your life a lot easier. You don't have to be picking up the phone all the time when people call to book an appointment. So that's a way of developing an e-commerce-like activity on your website. Can also be used to put new software in place to help replace that manual work, those spreadsheets that you've got to be managing on a regular basis. When I have a client who decides to purchase from me, I click a button, it automatically goes to my invoicing system, and an invoice is automatically generated. Software can make our lives a lot easier. This is a great graph that I stole from someone. I'm not going to take credit for this. Lots of different grant types and different activities that are available, eligible and non-eligible. This will be sent to you in the presentation today, so don't worry about taking notes. But you will find sometimes that an eligibility criteria works in one type of grant, but not in another. So sometimes it's good to get a sense of what you need to do in order to get the money that you want. Key grants you should consider. We're going to talk about 3.5 type grants that are available to you right now, all providing good money for you to be able to build your business. The first is the Canada Digital Adoption Program, which is run by ISED in the Government of Canada. It's Innovation, Science, and Economic Development. It's been around for a couple years. There are 2 individual grants that are available as part of this. The first is a $2,400 micro grant that helps small businesses either get online for the first time or develop some e-commerce or revenue generating activity online, that appointment booking system that we talked about. There's also a much larger Boost Your Business Technology grant, which is $15,000. That helps hire an advisor to help understand what your business needs to do to be more efficient online, where are your gaps in your digital marketing, and a couple other things as well. So the first one, the Grow Your Business $2,400 grants. Your eligible expenses include developing a new website, e-commerce or a booking or an appointment system. You want to manage your inventory. There's software is needed to manage that inventory. That's what the grant is for. Maybe you're building a loyalty database. You've got a newsletter that you want to have, and you're trying to build up a collection of email addresses. The grant can be used for that. If you have a CRM, a customer relationship management software where all of your customer data is included, you can use the grant to use that. You could use it to implement social media marketing if you've never spent money on Facebook or on Google or on TikTok. God forbid if you're on TikTok, but there are people who are. Or to improve your SEO, so your search engine rank when people look for your business online. The grant can be used for that. And they can be used to hire a digital agency to help out with all that. So you can get the grant to do it yourself or pay someone else to do it for you. Spoiler, I'm one of these people that you can hire as well to help you out with that. So let's have a conversation if you're interested. Your eligibility requirements for this type of grant: you have to be Canadian owned, so a resident of Canada. You have to be for profit. You have to be a private company. You cannot be a publicly traded company. You can be in corporation or you can be sole proprietorship. That doesn't matter. Those 3 criteria are there. The second is a minimum of $30,000 of revenue in the last fiscal year. So you have to have at least that minimum threshold to be able to hit, or 1 additional employee. So if you haven't hit that $30,000, but you have a full-time or a part-time employee, you will qualify for this grant. Some businesses, unfortunately, the real estate agent world does not apply for this, and they can't actually use this grant, but there are other grants available for them as well. This one's a very key one. I think for a lot of businesses in the Pontiac who are either struggling with their website or struggling with just figuring out how to get people to book things online, this is a great grant for them to start. The Boost Your Business Tech Grant, like I said, it's a $15,000 grant to cover 90% of the cost to develop a plan, to hire someone like myself to come and do a deep dive of your business. And what an advisor would do is look at all of your operations, from how you find clients, what is your lead generation strategy, how do you get new people into your business, how do you capture their information on a regular basis, are you looking at your analytics properly on your website, is it giving you data that actually can influence your overall decision making on your business. It can include including new technologies that will help your business go a lot further and a lot easier. It can be including identifying your training gaps that you need to apply for other grants for as well, or simply just developing a digitally friendly culture. Maybe you just need to really get more familiar with digital in all of its facets, and this plan can help you identify where your gaps are. This one's a lot thicker of a requirement. Minimum is $500,000 of annual revenue in one of the last 3 years. So the government is trying to say COVID really impacted small businesses, so if you had $500,000 of revenue pre-COVID and you took a hit in the last 2 years, you would still qualify for that as well. And you have to have one additional employee for this to work. The other benefit of this program, it also has $100,000 of no interest loan available for you as well. So as part of your plan, when your plan is all done, there is money available for you to implement that plan. That has a 12-month delay and a 5-year payment window, so 6 years for you to pay back that money. So if you are undergoing a traumatic transformation, I was talking to a local business up here who's looking to spend $100,000 on their website in the next year. This is a perfect program for them. They don't have the cash on hand right now, and they can get the money today, do the work today, and pay it back over the next 6 years. Great program for you. They also provide a $7,300 wage subsidy to again hire a student to help you out with implementation of that program. Maybe the plan suggests you need to be getting on social media, you need to be looking at your Facebook marketing a lot more. Well, hiring a student through this plan can also help you do that. A hiring of the student and $100,000 have to be used to support the plan. You can't just take the wage subsidy and put them at the front desk and just assume that that's going to be their job moving forward. They actually have to do the work on the plan for you. This program is also very key. I think this is going to be one that a lot of businesses should be looking at immediately. It's called the Digital Skills for Youth program. If you're familiar with Canada Summer Jobs, like I said earlier, it's got a very specific window of the year that you have to apply. Digital Skills for Youth is a lot broader. It's going to have similar criteria. You're hiring a youth, you're hiring a 15 to 30-year-old to help out with your business. The helping has to be digitally related, so they have to be helping you with your website, building your social media, building an online database, working on your SEO, whatever digital tasks that you have. Again, 15 to 30 years old, full-time or part-time employment. They don't have to be there all the time. They can just be working a couple hours. They can also be working remotely as well. If you don't have an office and you want to have someone work for you, you can actually have them work remotely for you. It's also good for for-profit and non-profit organizations, so if you're either side of that, it will work for you. The funding does vary, but in the range of $20,000 to $30,000 in wages can be covered, and the additional for training up to $4,000. I've seen various iterations of this program because they actually work through third parties to deliver it, where they may give you up to 100% coverage. Most of them are in the 75 to 90% coverage. Still a great amount of money. If 90% is covered on a $20,000 part-timer, you're only paying $2,000 out of your pocket to hire someone. This program is currently on pause, but it's going to restart in the next week. So every few years, at the end of March, they pause the program, they look at their providers, they relaunch the program with new funding. New money was just allocated prior to the budget federally as well, so we know this program is still going to exist. But we also know there are limited spacing. So if the one thing you can take away today is to look into this program, and we will have more information about it hopefully in the next couple of weeks to be able to say it's open, and let's start applying to hire more kids and getting working for your businesses. Last one, Google Ad Grants. So if you're a non-profit, this is applicable for you. It gives you free access to pro versions of Google tools. So if you've used Google Meets or you've used Google Slides or Google Presentations like I'm using here today, the pro version will give you a lot more opportunity, a lot more software applicability for your business. The sexy part is $10,000 a month available in ad spend. So Google will give you up to $10,000 a month to spend on search advertising. It's a sexy number, but unfortunately, I read the other day that the average nonprofit only spends about $400 a month because they actually have some issues delivering all those dollars. There's a lot of work to be done to actually make sure your website is aligned properly with the Google grants. There are compliance things that you've got to maintain on your website as well, and you've got to be updating your website on a regular basis. But for nonprofits, this is a great tool available for them. Microsoft and Bing have also come to the table. They have a $3,000 grant. It's available, or it was available up till about 2 weeks ago. So I put the slide together, and then oh my God, it's gone. It's paused. They're expecting to come back in the next couple of weeks with more information on that too. Resources. So I just spewed a whole lot of information to you, and you took some notes, and you're going to get this presentation later. But where do you go online to get more information about these individual grants or other grants that I haven't talked about? Well, I mentioned this organization earlier, ISMD, government organization. They have put a fantastic business benefits finder together. You literally go on the website, you type in, I'm in Quebec, I'm looking for a grant, I want to hire, I have X amount of income on my business, I have 3 employees, and it will give you every grant that is available federally and provincially to you. All the details are there, whether it's available or not. Highly recommend looking this up or checking out the link once you get this. There is tons of information. As a small business owner, this is where I'm going right now because I'm looking to hire. So I'm looking to get some grant money, and this is my first destination right now. Second is the Canada Economic Development Corps for the Quebec regions. SADC is part of that. Amy is here. If you have not met Amy of the SADC, she's here to help you out with your startup business as well. Very similar listings. If the CED has a grant, it's normally listed under the business finder. I highly recommend checking both out because there's sometimes this discrepancy or one gets information before the other. So bookmark both of these and you'll find more and more money available to you as well. This one is a very Quebec related. It's from the Montreal Chamber of Commerce, Info Entrepreneur. So the Montreal Chamber of Commerce puts out lists of grants that are available just to Quebec businesses. They can come from the federal government, they can come from the provincial government, but it's not as user friendly. It doesn't have a filter for you to search, but it does have a lot of listings available for other grants that are available to you as well. And then lastly, there's a lot of private organizations out there that will help you with the process. I've looked into Pocketed, MentorWorks, and Granted.ca and FundsNet myself. These organizations are good because they not only list all the federal and provincial government grants, but they will also give you private business grants. So if you've seen the FedEx grant that's available right now, there's $100,000 for businesses to apply that you can get a grant through FedEx. You have to tell them how shipping will help your business. It's a competition, it's a contest. It's not going to be guaranteed, but there are a lot of these grants that are available out there, and these companies will research them for you. They'll tell them about you when they're available. You can sign up to their newsletter. Some of those newsletters are free, so I highly recommend starting there. Some of them are a nominal $15 a month service, and they'll give you more notifications and tell you more about when information's there. Or they'll even give you grant application forms that are already pre-designed and ready for you to start filling out. Some of them also work on a percentage basis, so they will actually work with you on applying for the grant, and they'll take a percentage of the grant once it's successful. So that is another option for you if you're like myself, up all night and not wanting to spend a lot of time doing paperwork. They can help you out with that very, very difficult task in getting those monies that you need right now. So just in summary, free money is not often free. You do have to work, there is effort, there is activity that has to be done, but it does really help your business achieve the goals that you want to. All types of funding, not just grants, are available to you. Highly recommend looking at either loans or tax credits to make sure that you're maximizing the amount of money or the money you can get back from the government. There's a lot of online resources. Start with Google if you want to start fresh. You can look up Canadian grants available to small businesses. There'll be a lot of websites available to you over and above the websites I listed today. And of course, shameless plug for myself, if you want to have a conversation about grants and how they can help your business, I'm available for the rest of the day and here to have a conversation with you. Hopefully you grabbed a copy of my card and let's start a conversation. And that, my friends,